Like many people with ME/CFS and fibromyalgia, I had, a few health episodes prior to becoming very sick. I contracted mono. Took me probably 6-7 months to get back up to where I was before. And then once I did, my health was great. I was, active. I was a runner. I rode horses. I taught riding lessons. I was, into recreational activities. And then I was training for a half marathon. And it was the first week in January of 2004. And I had gone to a spinning class at the gym. And I had this really great, like a runner's high. I felt so great. And I was really excited at how great my body was doing. And then the next day, I was sore, but in kind of a little bit different way. And then the day after that, I really wasn't feeling well. And I went into this sort of flu episode, and I was going in and out of consciousness for a week or so, but I was too sick to get myself to a doctor. And I just stayed home. And then after about 2 weeks, I started to go back to work, and I just wasn't quite right. And then a lot of cognitive fatigue, and I would sleep a lot. So I went to a family physician who I'd seen since I was 14 or 15 years old. Very genuine, nice doctor, but he only had 15 minutes, and nothing really came out of that. It was kind of drink more water, take some vitamins. Gosh, it's hard to remember all the doctors that I went to. Finally, I just couldn't find anything. And then a family member recommended that I go to their OBGYN just because they thought that he was a good doctor. So I went, and he told me, he said, I think that you have this chronic fatigue syndrome, and here are 2 doctors that I recommend you see. And that was Dr. And I went to him, and he was a very nice man, very gentle. And he diagnosed me at that point in time. He made the official diagnosis of fibromyalgia. He called everything fibromyalgia. And he was, he did some unconventional things, but even though he was like a mainstream kind of family practice doctor, there was some help, but not a lot. I saw him for several years because at least he believed me. I went to it was like a franchise of medical clinics that treat chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, and they hired physicians, and so they had one here in Murray, Utah, and I went, and it was quite expensive, but I had saved up for it. I went in and I was examined, and the doctor did an incredibly painful tender point exam. And in tender point exams, it's supposed to be about 4 grams of pressure, but he pushed as hard as he could on those tender points. It was incredibly painful. And they took 90, literally, I'm not exaggerating, 90 vials of blood for tests, which I was excited about because, I thought, okay, they're gonna get some answers. I ended up the following day going to the emergency room because I became paralyzed. I didn't have use of my muscles. My parents came over. I lived on the 3rd floor of an apartment, and my dad carried me down, put me in a wheelchair, and took me over to this clinic and was angry and said, what's happening? What's going on? The doctor came out and he said, you just have to go to the ER. And so that's what we did. And I've lost count of ER visits. So I was diagnosed August 16th of 2004. So it only took me about 7-8 months to get the diagnosis from Dr. which was the fibromyalgia diagnosis. So I saw him for all those years, and then I started seeing Dr. Bateman at that time. But even through those years, it was nice to have somebody who would listen to me, but he just didn't have the knowledge that that I needed a physician to help.